The anime begins with our protagonist, Rentarō Aijō, graduating before starting high school. On his last day, he gathers his courage and confesses his love to the girl he likes. She tells him that she likes him because he is cheerful, kind, and sincere, but admits that the thought of dating him disgusts her. She apologizes and walks away. Heartbroken and rejected, Rentarō's friend asks him how many times he's been rejected. He admits that this was the 100th time. After parting with his friend, Rentarō goes to a temple, where he prays the god of love, asking for help to find a girlfriend and live happily. Rentarō hears a strange noise and sees a figure appear. It's the love god of that temple. The god tells him not to worry, that everyone has a destined partner, a soulmate, someone they'll fall in love with at first sight, and that they'll know it's them when they feel electricity running through their body. In short, the god tells Rentarō that he will have 100 soulmates due to a mistake the god made. Rentarō doesn't believe him at first and jokingly says he'll burn the temple down if it's not true, then leaves. A month later, school starts, and after the entrance ceremony, two girls bump into him, and immediately, Rentarō feels the electric shock the god mentioned. He wonders if these are the girls the god spoke of. When he gets up, he offers to help them, but the pink-haired girl tells him she twisted her ankle. Rentarō starts crying, feeling like an idiot for hurting her. The other girl sees what the pink-haired girl did and says she also twisted her ankle. But when Rentarō hears this, he starts hitting himself for being so clumsy that he hurt two of his soulmates upon meeting them. They tell him to stop, and he looks at them, confused since both had said they were injured. But then they fall back to the ground and ask for his help again. Rentarō helps both girls to the infirmary, though they cling to him as they walk. The pink-haired girl introduces herself as Hakari Hanazono, and the brown-haired girl as Karane Inda. As Rentarō replies to them, they ignore him because they overhear two girls nearby talking about a legend that says if you find a pink four-leaf clover on the school grounds and confess your love, the person will say yes. At that moment, both girls run off, saying they have something to do, leaving Rentarō surprised as he thought they were really hurt. 4 hours pass. 4 hours in which Rentarō was helping a teacher find their lost contact lenses. When he leaves, he sees Hakari and Karane searching for the four-leaf clover through the window. Seeing this, he decides to do something nice for them, after all their effort. When he goes outside, he only finds Karane. Rentarō asks her how the search is going, but she says she's not looking for the clover, and to throw him off, says she's just looking for a bathroom. Rentarō doesn't give it much thought and offers her a juice for all her effort. She hesitates but accepts, clearly blushing as she awkwardly thanks him, saying she didn't need his help, and then runs off embarrassed by his gesture. After that, Hakari shows up, having gone to the bathroom. Seeing her, Rentarō offers her a juice as well. She tells him that a 350 can is too much for her, and asks if they can share it, trying to get an indirect kiss with Rentarō. But he was prepared and says he also brought her a 190 can just in case 350 was too much. Hakari says that 190 is still more than half of 350 and that she'll still need his help. Rentarō doesn't understand, but he offers to help her anyway. He tries to drink from the can and then gives it to Hakari, but nervously, she drops it, losing her chance at an indirect kiss. Seeing how upset Hakari is, Rentarō tries to comfort her. At that moment, Hakari suddenly confesses her love for him, asking him to be her boyfriend. But just then, Karane shows up, overhearing everything, and throws a bunch of juice cans at Rentarō, shouting that he shouldn't think all those cans were for him as payback. Realizing Hakari beat her to it, Karane also confesses her love to Rentarō and asks him to be her boyfriend, leaving Rentarō in shock. Not knowing what to say, he tells them he'll give them his answer the next day. Rentarō contemplates what to do and visits the love god again. The god tells him that his soulmate is destined to be with him, but those who are rejected will die. This leaves Rentarō stunned, unsure of what to do. He thinks about rejecting both girls and then dating each one individually. But the next day, he heads to school, ready to face his fate and tell the girls what he has decided. Rentarō appears before Karane and Hakari, covered in dirt, and tells them he wants them both to be his girlfriends. As a gesture of goodwill, he gives each of them a pink four-leaf clover, saying he thought it would be a nice gesture since he was inspired by how hard they worked to find it the day before. Karane gets upset with Rentarō, but Hakari says she accepts and can't imagine a life where she's not his girlfriend and that she's willing to share him. Seeing this, the brown-haired girl also accepts, realizing that if she says no, she'd be letting Rentarō go. However, she makes Rentarō swear that he'll treat her well or else he'll regret it. The next day, Rentarō goes to school holding hands with his two girlfriends. As they arrive, they see a boy running ahead of them, followed by a woman chasing after him. Karane says that the woman is the vice principal, who was an Olympic athlete and hates people running in the hallways. She chases down anyone she sees and, as punishment, forces them to kiss her by putting her tongue in their mouth if they break the rules. After witnessing this traumatic scene, Hakari asks Rentarō if he's had his first kiss yet, and he admits that he hasn't. Upon hearing this, both Karane and Hakari decide to compete to be the one who gives Rentarō his first kiss. During lunch, Hakari makes the first move by offering Rentarō a Pocky stick. However, seeing that it's completely covered in chocolate, she decides to give it to him with her mouth. As they get closer, she uses this as an excuse to lean in and get close to Rentarō's lips while eating the Pocky. Karane, realizing she's losing her chance, grabs a Pocky to give to Rentarō as well, but in her rush, she accidentally pokes him in the eye instead of his mouth. As she leans over, her hair brushes against him, causing him to sneeze. Seeing him sneeze, she worriedly asks if he's coming down with a cold, and before Rentarō can reply, she says that to help him, she'll kiss him and absorb the cold. As she's about to kiss him, Hakari interrupts by hitting Karane, telling her that method doesn't work. Hakari then moves in to check Rentarō's temperature with her lips, but Karane intervenes again. Both girls start arguing, and finally, Rentarō realizes that they were both trying to kiss him. Rentarō tells them that he had anticipated a situation like this and suggests a game to resolve the situation and for both girls to get their first kiss. After a long explanation that even I didn't quite understand, they start the game. The protagonist, blindfolded, is supposed to kiss one of the two girls at random. He uses his hands to guide himself but ends up touching, well, Hakari's rather large chest. Recognizing her, he removes the blindfold, and both girls tell Karane to give it another try. In the second round, Rentarō unknowingly approaches Karane. Just before that, however, a cat jumps on her and starts playing with her stockings. She thinks it's Rentarō, and blushing and secretly enjoying the feeling, hits Rentarō, calling him a pervert. She tells him that if he wants to do something like that, he should ask her first and she'll agree. But when she takes off the blindfold, she realizes it was the cat touching her the whole time. They repeat the game over and over throughout the day, leading to all kinds of funny situations. Eventually, Rentarō sees them arguing again and decides to put an end to everything by running away. The girls chase after him, but while running through the hallways, the vice principal starts chasing him too. Rentarō lets her catch him, but just as she's about to kiss him as punishment, Karane stops the vice principal with a hold, and Hakari opens a window, yelling that the vice principal is about to kiss a student against his will. Hearing this, the vice principal retreats, giving up on punishing Rentarō for running the hallways. Karane and Hakari ask Rentarō what he was trying to do, and he explains that he doesn't want them to fight. He says he understands that both want to give him their first kiss, and don't want the other to beat them to it. Blushing, both girls agree to let the other have the first kiss. Rentarō looks at them, feeling happy, and says he didn't realize they got along so well. He then suggests that for their first kiss, they should all kiss together. Both girls blush, but eventually they agree. The next day in the library, while Rentarō is helping his girlfriends pick out a book, he looks for a novel to read. Just as he's about to grab one, he bumps into another girl. As they make eye contact, Rentarō feels the same electric shock and realizes that he's just met another one of his soulmates. The next day, the protagonist notices that a girl is reaching for the same book as him. He tells her to take it, but she looks at him and responds using the book, pointing to the words for him to read and answering exactly what he needs. She asks him through the book what he's looking for, mentioning that she's the librarian. Noticing that Rentarō is confused by the way she communicates, she apologizes and tries to leave, but he stops her and, without judging her, tells her what he's looking for. The girl gets to work, picking 1, 2, 3, and then many books. She piles them all up and tells the protagonist that he can take whichever he wants because they all match the description he gave. Rentarō, seeing how much effort she put in, says he'll take them all, but since he doesn't have a library card, he can't borrow them yet because it takes a week to get one. Stating that he can't take any book, the girl hands him the one she uses to communicate. Rentarō thanks her and asks for her name. The girl introduces herself as Shizuka Yoshimoto. That night at home, the protagonist reads the book, which is about a knight who swears loyalty to his princess but ends up falling in love with her. The book moves him to tears, and the next day when he goes to return it to Shizuka, he realizes that she has brought him the sequel. He gets excited and thanks her, but before accepting it, he tells her that he needs to repay her. Rentarō invites the girl out for a drink, and she tells him that she loves reading, but many people reject her because she communicates through a book. The protagonist reassures her, saying that he would never judge her. Hearing this, she thanks him for being her friend. Upon hearing her, the protagonist gets an idea of how he could repay her. The next day, Shizuka waits for the protagonist, but he doesn't show up. 2, 3 days pass and still nothing. That day, as she walks down the hallway, she sees Rentarō with his 2 girlfriends and feels sad, realizing that he's not single. She remembers how her friends and mother treated her, insulting her for not being able to speak and for communicating through a book, and she feels heartbroken thinking that the only person who understood her is with someone else. One day, Rentarō finally finds Shizuka and asks her to download an app. The protagonist sends her a file and tells her that it's the book she uses, but now she can choose what she wants to say, touch it, and the app will speak for her. Seeing this, Shizuka is surprised by the effort he put in. And with her first words using the app, she tells the protagonist that she loves him and is in love with him, but understands that he has a girlfriend and that he'll probably reject her. The protagonist looks at her and realizes that he loves her too, not just because she's his soulmate, but because he wants to help her and deeply cares for her. At that moment, he holds her and confesses that he's in love with her too. That day, the protagonist goes with Shizuka and asks Karane and Hakari if Shizuka can be his third girlfriend. Karane is shocked by this request and angrily yells at the protagonist, but Hakari is moved, saying she's happy that even though Rentarō is now in love with someone else, he still loves them too. Seeing that she would be left out, Karane also agrees, and thus the protagonist has 3 new girlfriends. He promises them all that he will make them happy no matter what, and also promises that if he can't, he will commit seppuku. As they get to know each other better, Shizuka, out of curiosity, asks if they've already kissed. The protagonist says yes, and Hakari, noticing how nervous Shizuka looks, asks her if she also wants to kiss him. However, Shizuka replies that her fate is to remain chaste until marriage. The protagonist tells her that he understands and will only kiss her when she's ready, promising not to pressure her. As they continue hanging out, the protagonist says that he's brought a deck of cards to play and bring everyone closer. To make it interesting, they decide that the loser will get tickled. Rentarō sees this as a great plan, believing that laughter is the best way to lower tension and reveal someone's true personality. But Shizuka, Hakari, and Karane see this as an opportunity for Rentarō to touch them without limits. In the first round, Rentarō wins and the loser is Karane. Even though she tries to hide it, it's clear how much she wants Rentarō to tickle her, and when he does, she feels it all. In the next round, Rentarō wins again, but this time Hakari loses. She doesn't hide how much she wants Rentarō to tickle her, but after a moment, she has to stop him because she's laughing so hard she almost pees herself. In the next round, Rentarō wins once more, but this time Shizuka loses. The protagonist is especially excited to tickle Shizuka, hoping it will help her feel lighter and less pressured. As he starts, Shizuka laughs not only out loud but also using the app to communicate her laughter. By the fourth round, Karane and Hakari are serious, determined to win so they can tickle Rentarō. This time, the protagonist loses and Shizuka ends up as the winner. She gently tickles Rentarō, making him laugh uncontrollably, and after a while, he asks for permission to go to the bathroom. While Rentarō is away, Karane, Hakari, and Shizuka are left alone. Karane and Hakari take the opportunity to confront Shizuka, asking her why she's holding back around them. Shizuka defends herself, saying she's doing it out of respect because she was the last one to join the group and she doesn't want to bother them. This only angers Karane more, who tells Shizuka that she's Rentarō's girlfriend just like the rest of them, and she shouldn't hold back. She should always express what she feels. Hakari agrees, adding that Shizuka shouldn't hold herself back because Rentarō loves all 3 of them equally, and they should all love him as much as they can. From afar, the protagonist overhears everything, as this was all part of his plan to bring the girls closer together. In the end, his plan was a success. The next day, everyone waits to see the notes, but Rentarō goes to the living room to put his phone away. There he meets a girl who, upon seeing her, feels the same electricity and knows that she is also his soulmate. The protagonist talks to her, telling her that they should go together to see the grades, but she tells him that it is a waste of time since she knows that she will be the first. The protagonist insists, but the girl rejects him again. When the protagonist sees the grades, he verifies that Ai has indeed been first, getting the highest possible grade. That same day in science class, the protagonist is paired with Ai. He tries to get him to talk, but he can't. Then while he is cutting an onion to examine it under a microscope, he cuts himself by accident. He washes his hands and says that he will go to the infirmary, but Ai tells him that it would be a waste, so he grabs his finger and cleans it. Afterward, she explains that saliva has healing properties and would be more effective. When she leaves, Rentarō tries to thank her by offering to buy her juice, but she refuses, saying processed juices have no value. He then tries inviting her out, but Ai rejects him, saying she sees no point in going out and doing something unproductive. She leaves and Rentarō watches her, wondering if Ai really is his soulmate. Later that day, Ai tries to study at home but can't concentrate. She recites the digits of pi to focus but finds herself unable to stop thinking about Rentarō. The next day, Ai approaches Rentarō directly and proposes marriage, telling him she wants to be his girlfriend. Rentarō looks at her and seriously accepts her proposal. However, Ai tells him she must reject him. She expected him to turn her down, but since he didn't, she feels forced to do it because she sees no use in a relationship that wouldn't be productive for her studies. Rentarō, undeterred, asks her for just one chance, inviting her on a date to show her that it can be fun. The next day, they meet at the amusement park. They go on different rides, but Ai questions everything. On the carousel, she complains about its lack of purpose in the haunted house. She realizes that all the actors are human, not monsters, so she isn't scared, and in the spinning teacups ride, she criticizes the point of the game. Despite all this, Rentarō does his best to make her enjoy herself, taking pictures of her with his instant camera. Eventually, they go on the Ferris wheel, but Rentarō realizes that Ai is afraid of heights. He moves closer to her to reassure her that there's nothing to fear while he's with her. At the end of the day, Rentarō shows Ai all the photos he took and tells her how beautiful she looks, demonstrating that he can read her emotions, knowing when she was bored, sad, or having fun. Ai is surprised, as people usually don't notice her emotions. She admits that she had more fun than she expected, but tells Rentarō that it all has to end now because she still doesn't see the point in continuing. Rentarō thanks her for her honesty and pulls out a lighter, saying that if the photos are useless, he should burn them. As the pictures begin to catch fire, Ai suddenly grabs them, saving them from the flames. Rentarō feels satisfied and explains that the fact she saved the pictures shows that they mean something to her, and that makes them useful. Ai, moved, can't help but shed tears. Realizing Rentarō is right, she tells him she doesn't want to let him go and that she would like to be in a relationship with him. Rentarō, equally satisfied, says that he also wants to be with her. The next day, Rentarō introduces Ai to the other girls, asking them to let her be his fourth girlfriend. Karane gets upset but tells him he can do whatever he wants, while Hakari and Shizuka accept without any objection. Hakari then asks for more details about the date, and Shizuka says she'd like to go on a date too. Hakari suggests they all go on a group date to the water park. The day of the date arrives, and with it the swimsuit episode. The protagonist is captivated as he sees his girlfriends in their swimsuits. Shizuka apologizes for wearing her school swimsuit, but the protagonist reassures her, saying it's humble of her to wear it and that she looks beautiful. At that moment, Karane arrives, wrapped up and not showing her swimsuit. When the others ask why she's dressed like that, she responds that she's cold. Karane walks away to warm up, and Rentarō gets into the water with Shizuka, Hakari, and Ai. While they're in the pool, Hakari uses the current as an excuse to get closer to Rentarō, but Ai notices what she's doing and says she can play along too. Ai grabs Rentarō's hand and places it on her chest to show off her feminine charm. Hakari takes Rentarō's other hand and does the same, placing it on her chest. Overwhelmed by the situation, the protagonist faints. Hakari and Ai quickly pull him out of the water and try to revive him. Both attempt to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but instead of doing it properly, they just keep kissing him, failing to bring him back. Meanwhile, Shizuka, who had entered the water with them but doesn't know how to swim, floats away with her life preserver, getting dragged around by the current while everyone ignores her. Hakari and Ai leave to find a lifeguard for Rentarō, but on their way they run into some boys. One of them tries to grab Hakari, but Ai defends her. She tells Hakari to leave and get help for Rentarō, but Hakari refuses to abandon her and stays with Ai. The boys, unable to hold back, decide to go all out, but just as they make their move, Rentarō arrives and steps in between them. Rentarō tells the boys to leave his girlfriends alone. One of the guys, seeing Rentarō's determination, suggests that Rentarō can take one girlfriend and leave the other for them. But Rentarō firmly states that both are his girlfriends. Trying to corner him, the guy dares Rentarō to kiss both of them. Though Rentarō hesitates, Ai and Hakari kiss him without a problem, proving that they are indeed his girlfriends. When Ai and Hakari ask how Rentarō managed to recover, he explains that Karane had seen them both in trouble from a distance, ran to him and told him they were being attacked. That news immediately brought him back to life. At that moment, Rentarō realizes that Shizuka isn't with them and asks the others if they've seen her. The girls admit they had forgotten about her, and Rentarō rushes off to find her, knowing she can't swim. On the other side of the pool, Shizuka is trying to ask for help using her phone, but no one pays attention to her. Just as Rentarō arrives to look for her, her phone dies and she can't call for him. Summoning her courage, she uses her own voice to call out to him. It was quiet and hard for her to speak loudly. Despite the noise, Rentarō recognizes her voice and rushes to her rescue. Later, Rentarō and Karane sit apart from the others. The protagonist asks her if she's really cold. Karane insists she is, but Rentarō gently suggests it might be something else. He points out that he noticed how she's been staring at Hakari's and Ai's chests all day. Rentarō tells her not to compare herself to them and encourages her to take off her cover-up so she can enjoy the pool. He moves closer to her and removes her cover-up, revealing her beautiful swimsuit. Embarrassed, Karane tells him he shouldn't have done that, but Rentarō hugs her and tells her to feel how fast his heart is beating, explaining that it's because of how beautiful she looks. Karane, feeling reassured, lets herself relax and kisses the protagonist. After that, she gathers her confidence and joins Hakari, Shizuka, and Ai, and from then on, they all start to enjoy the water park and have fun together. The next day, when Karane and the girls take Rentarō to the cafe to claim the lovebird pancakes, they walk past the chemistry club. There, Rentarō exchanges glances with a girl, and both feel a spark. Rentarō has found another one of his soulmates. The following day, Rentarō goes to the chemistry club to find this girl, but when he arrives, he is greeted by a red-haired girl who invites him for tea. He accepts and drinks it, Then the girl gives him a medicine that will make him magnetic, like a magnet. Although Rentarō hesitates at first, she convinces him, and it turns out to be true. Rentarō becomes magnetic, but as a side effect, he will be constipated for 3 consecutive days, something the girl might have mentioned before giving him the medicine. The girl takes another medicine with the opposite effect, becoming a magnet of the opposite polarity, and due to this, she sticks to Rentarō. She hugs him, but reassures him that the effect will only last about 10 minutes. Once the effect wears off, the girl confesses to Rentarō that the tea from earlier was actually a love potion and that she's in love with him. Hearing this, Rentarō tries to vomit the love potion, which depresses the girl, but Rentarō explains that he's doing it because he wants to accept her confession as himself. At that moment, Rentarō begins to have convulsions as a side effect. The girl, panicking, pulls out a neutralizer, but since the convulsions are too strong, she can't get Rentarō to drink it, so she decides to give it to him mouth. Once the potion's effects are under control, Rentarō explains that even though the potion's effect has worn off, he still finds her adorable. The girl is confused, but can't hold back and confesses her love to him, asking him to be her boyfriend. At that moment, she starts to transform and turns into the voluptuous, red-haired girl Rentarō had seen the day before. Seeing Rentarō's confusion, she explains that once she took the neutralizer, the potion that made her appear smaller wore off. She tells him that she's been taking a failed immortality potion and confesses that she's in her last year. Recognizing her, Rentarō responds to her confession and accepts it, telling her it would be a pleasure to go out with her. Later that day, Rentarō introduces Kusuri Yakuza to the girls and asks them to let her be his 5th girlfriend. While they're not thrilled at first, they don't find it too strange and accept without too many questions. Kusuri introduces herself, saying she likes potions. Karane, surprised, asks if she's crazy, but Kusuri reassures her, explaining that she simply likes making magical potions, as if she were a witch. Kusuri then gives them all a new potion she's been working on, one to make them more beautiful. Karane rejects it, but Hakari sees it as a chance to become more attractive to Rentarō and decides to take it. Soon after, she begins to sweat, and her sweat melts her clothes, leaving her completely naked. Rentarō blushes, and to help her, he gives her his used gym clothes, which she gladly accepts to cover herself. She also takes the opportunity to smell them and feel Rentarō through his clothes. At that moment, Kusuri offers Shizuka a potion that temporarily turns her into an adorable little bunny. The protagonist is overwhelmed by how cute she looks and rushes to pet her. Kusuri also gives Ai a potion that allows her to control her hair at will. Ai finds it useful and uses her hair to pull Rentarō close and kiss him. They continue to spend time together, and by the end of the afternoon, they decide to have a picnic. Kusuri serves tea but says she needs to use the restroom first and insists on serving the tea when she gets back. However, everyone tells her to go before it gets worse. As she leaves, Kusuri warns them to identify the cups correctly because it's easy to tell which one is Rentarō's and which are theirs. The group debates and chooses the blue cup for the girls because it's larger and the red cup for Rentarō because it's smaller. When Kusuri returns, she sees that everyone drank the wrong tea. She explains that the blue one was for Rentarō because he's a boy and the red one was for the girls. She goes on to reveal that the tea was a potion that would give Rentarō an uncontrollable desire to kiss, and she wanted to give it to him. Rentarō, upon hearing this, scolds her, saying he doesn't need that kind of potion to want to kiss her, and that he could do so without it. At that moment, the girls suddenly stand up, saying just one thing, "Kiss me." Seeing them acting strangely, Rentarō asks what's going on, and Kusuri explains that this is the potion's side effect on the girls. Since they work differently from boys, their desire to kiss multiplies, leaving only that thought in their minds, turning them into zombies. Kusuri also admits that if they don't cure them quickly, the effect will become permanent. Now, Rentarō and Kusuri embark on an adventure to save the girls who have turned into zombies, beginning a survival game of Resident Kiss, Besser Hazard. Kusuri and Rentarō run to the chemistry club to prepare the antidote, but the girls chase them, trying to catch Rentarō and kiss him. The girls pursue them through the hallways, and as they try to escape, Rentarō realizes that among the zombies is Ai, who is leading them and giving instructions to surround them. Noticing this, Rentarō decides to separate from Kusuri, so that the girls will follow him since their goal is to kiss him. Shizuka follows him, and Rentarō realizes that despite the medicine enhancing her physical abilities, Shizuka is still slow. While chasing him, she falls, and despite her being a zombie, Rentarō feels concerned and runs to help her. He takes her to the infirmary and treats her. But as soon as she's cured, she lunges at him and begins kissing him. Rentarō stops her and hangs her up on a coat rack. Rentarō heads to the chemistry club, but when he leaves the infirmary, he's now being chased by Hakari and Karane. They team up to take him down, with Karane using her strength to throw Hakari at Rentarō. Hakari manages to pin him down, leaving him at their mercy. Just as they're about to kiss him, they realize they're both about to kiss him simultaneously and start arguing in zombie language. Rentarō notices that despite being zombies, they're still themselves. He takes advantage of their closeness to make them kiss each other, buying himself time to escape. When he arrives at the chemistry club, he finds Ai waiting for him. Rentarō hides in a locker to avoid being found, but inside the locker, he discovers Kusuri, who also hid there to avoid being caught by Ai. Rentarō tries to come up with a plan, but he realizes that if he leaves to distract Ai, she'll figure out it's a diversion and discover Kusuri. Seeing how complicated their situation is, Kusuri can't hold back her tears and begins apologizing to Rentarō for all the trouble she's caused. While lamenting, Kusuri remembers she has a neutralizer vial and tells Rentarō, who comes up with a plan to give the dose to Ai, cure her, and have her help prepare the antidote for the other girls. However, Kusuri takes the antidote herself, and as she drinks it, Rentarō tries to stop her, causing her to spill half of it. She tells him her plan was to use the neutralizer to return to her original form and attack Ai since Ai wouldn't recognize her. As Kusuri goes to capture Ai, she plans to tie her up with a rope she has, but she accidentally reveals herself by speaking in her characteristic way. Realizing what's happening, Ai defends herself and ties Kusuri up instead. Rentarō, still hiding in the locker, runs out of options and decides to come out to get Ai to chase him. He runs and runs, but Ai is fast, so he locks himself in a room. However, Ai breaks down the door and enters. Eventually, she catches him and doesn't let him escape, starting to kiss him. Moments later, Kusuri comes to the rescue and gives Ai the antidote, successfully stopping her. Rentarō, lying on the floor, thanks her. Kusuri asks if that was his plan all along, but Rentarō confesses that it wasn't much of a plan. It was a desperate attempt to speed up the neutralizer's effect on Kusuri, so that when she returned to her smaller form, she could free herself and prepare the antidote. Afterward, they administer the antidote to the other girls, who soon wake up not remembering much of what happened. Hakari and Karane, though initially unsure, eventually recall kissing each other and how hard it was to stop. Silently, they both promise not to mention it again. Kusuri then breaks down crying, apologizing to everyone and promising never to make potions again. But Rentarō stops her, telling her she doesn't need to give up on potions. They're an essential part of who she is. He promises to help her no matter what in case something goes wrong again. A few days later, everyone goes to a flower field where Hakari has taken them for a group date. There she also tells them that there's a special event that day where they'll throw a bouquet, and the lucky ones who catch it will get to take a picture in a wedding dress as if they were newlyweds. A dream Hakari has always wanted to fulfill. That day, there are a lot of people hoping to catch the bouquet, including a group of biker gorillas who want to help their boss catch it, so she can take that picture with her partner. Hakari suggests that all the girls work together to catch the bouquet, and they all agree. Then it's announced that Rentarō's school's vice principal, a former Olympic athlete, will be the one throwing the bouquet. She prepares and throws it as far as she can. Everyone moves to catch it, but Rentarō and the girls notice that the members of the gorilla group are throwing their own teammates at the other competitors to slow them down so they can catch the bouquet themselves. At that moment, Karane prepares to use her immense strength to hold off the gorilla boss, who is competing against her in strength. At that moment, the group of gorillas creates a whirlwind of wind to direct the bouquet towards them. Then we see that Shizuka is flying through the air and she realizes that she has the bouquet within her reach, and when she sees it in front of her, she jumps for it. But when she grabs it, she lets go of the banner and begins to fall. The girls realize this and they prepare to catch her. But when she falls on her, everyone's huge breaths serve as a natural airbag and Shizuka bounces, in which the protagonist manages to arrive in time and catches Shizuka before she falls to the ground. Now that they've won, Hakari suggests a game to decide who will be the winner and get to take the picture with Rentarō. However, she has a plan where she marked herself as the winner. She tells Ai to be the first to choose a stick, but Ai suggests that everyone pick one at the same time to be more efficient. Even though this messes up Hakari's plan, she unknowingly picks the winning stick. Kusuri, now in her small form, gets sad and throws a tantrum for not being the winner. When Hakari sees this, even though it's her dream, she's willing to let Kusuri take the picture with Rentarō. However, when Kusuri tells her, she hugs Hakari, thanks her, but says that she loves her just as much as she loves Rentarō, and that it'll be just as fun watching her favorite people take the picture. This touches Hakari's heart, and she decides that they should take a group photo to capture this unique moment. At the end of the photo session, Hakari and Rentarō are left alone. She tells him how much she loves him and asks if he'd be willing to do what she asks of him. He says yes without hesitation, but Hakari then asks him to break up with her. Shortly after, she leaves and everyone gets worried about her. Rentarō tries to call her, but she doesn't answer, so he decides to go to her house. When he arrives, he sees Hakari at the window of a mansion's upper floor. She signals to him, but she calls him from her house phone and confesses that the reason she asked him to break up with her is because her mother found out about their relationship. At that moment, her mother gets on the phone and speaks before Rentarō can say anything, telling him that she doesn't want a womanizer like him to be with her daughter. When Rentarō hangs up, he panics and starts yelling for Hakari to explain herself. But then the security guard shows up and escorts Rentarō off the property. Inside the mansion, Hakari apologizes to her mother, who threatens her, saying she won't allow her to date that worm. Rentarō returns home devastated by his inability to do anything, but he decides to act. That night, he gathers the girls and tells them that he plans to rescue Hakari and run away with her. The girls support his resolution and tell Rentarō that they'll also help him free Hakari. Everyone arrives at Hakari's house and they all jump the entrance together. Rentarō grabs a ball to throw at Hakari's window, but he misses. As he tries to retrieve the ball, a cat grabs it and doesn't return it. They all try to catch the cat, but it escapes. At that moment, they hear the security guard and everyone hides. Dai suggests that if they have a cat, they probably also have a pet door. When they find it, they open the door using some stones to hit the lock and eventually manage to get it open. They all enter, but when they reach the living room, a guard dog emerges from the darkness. Everyone runs out of the house scared, but Shizuka is left inside, terrified. The dog looks at her, but instead of attacking, it protects her, as it always feels the need to protect those who are weaker. Kusuri pulls out the sleeping potion and throws it to Shizuka so she can give it to the dog. However, Shizuka misinterprets this and ends up drinking the potion herself, falling asleep instantly. The dog also falls asleep upon seeing her sleep. Everyone takes advantage of this moment to enter the house and carry Shizuka with them. When they reach the upper floor, they see a long hallway, and at that moment, an alarm starts ringing. They hear the guards and try to hide. The guards look up and see the same cat, scolding it for triggering the alarms again before leaving without further investigation. Hearing this, everyone is disheartened because they can't see the infrared lasers. Kusuri produces an eye potion and gives it to Rentarō. With these eye drops, he can see the infrared lights without limits. Once the medicine takes effect, Rentarō sees many infrared lasers and comments that even town crews would find it impossible to navigate them. But he also notices that the lasers don't reach the ceiling. Ai then suggests tying Rentarō and Karane together so they can climb the wall, as Karane is the strongest among them. They start climbing while the others wait outside. They gradually make their way up the wall to the other side of the hallway. When they finally cross and reach Hakari's room, opening the door triggers an alarm, and before they can react, a bunch of security guards catches them. The guards bring Karane and Rentarō before Hakari's mother, but Hakari cannot yet see her due to the effect of the potion. Nevertheless, Rentarō asks Hakari's mother for her blessing to be with her daughter, but she refuses. She explains that she had Hakari when she was very young and made this decision because she wanted to have a memory of her loved one who was very sick and about to die. She loves Hakari more than anything in the world and is willing to do anything to protect her from someone like him. Hakari's mother tells him that she will do whatever it takes to protect her and that she won't change her mind no matter what he says. At that moment, the effect of the potion wears off for Rentarō, and as he makes eye contact with Hakari's mother, he feels the spark of love he has felt with all his soulmates. Feeling this, Hakari's mother confesses her love to Rentarō and asks him to go out with her. Karane is surprised by this declaration and tells Rentarō to stop looking at his girlfriend's mother. Hakari defends herself, saying it was all a joke. She then becomes serious again and says that if he is willing to prove his love is real, he must sit in his super advanced lie detector chair. Rentarō is willing to take on the challenge, but first asks her to prove that the chair works properly to avoid any faults. Hakari's mother agrees and asks Karane to sit in the chair. Hakari asks if Karane loves Rentarō. Karane, embarrassed, says that she does love him, but the chair calls her a liar. Karane changes her answer to say she loves him a lot, but the chair still calls her a liar. Embarrassed, Karane then says she loves him very much and is willing to give her life for him, no matter what. The chair responds affirmatively and says she is telling the truth. Seeing this, Rentarō cannot resist and also sits in the chair. He says he loves Karane with all his soul and would be willing to die for her. The chair shouts that he is also telling the truth. At that moment, a maid arrives and shouts that Miss Hakari is at the window about to jump. Everyone is shocked, but Karane, to help the protagonist, grabs Hakari and won't let go. She shouts at Rentarō to go save Hakari. The protagonist doesn't hesitate and runs out, thanking Karane. Rentarō reaches Hakari's room and tries to calm her, saying he is there to help and that they can run away together. But Hakari says she can't stand it, that she doesn't want to spend her life running away, as her mother will never leave them alone. Rentarō then says that he doesn't care how they have to live as long as he is with her. That will be enough. Hakari, hearing this, calms down, but as she is about to enter, she accidentally slips and falls. Rentarō jumps and manages to catch her just in time, but he doesn't hold on very well and also falls with Hakari. However, during the fall, he uses the wall to propel them both safely into the fountain. At that moment, Karane arrives and slaps Hakari, scolding her for being so foolish and reckless. Hakari's mother also arrives and, seeing that what Rentarō said was true, sincerely apologizes. The protagonist looks at her and forgives her but tells her that he also wants her to be happy. Hakari blushes and asks if this is his response to her earlier declaration. Hakari, completely confused, learns that her mother has feelings for Rentarō. Once things calm down a bit, Hakari invites everyone to come inside and take a warm bath to warm up. Later, Karane finds the protagonist, who blushes upon seeing her exposed abdomen. They both start feeling each other's abs, and just then Kusuri arrives. Both of them jump to avoid being discovered and begin doing push-ups. After a while, Hakari's mother takes everyone to a room to change, and they all put on pajamas of various kinds. At that moment, Hakari decides to go somewhere else, and the protagonist goes out to accompany her. In the hallway, they talk about their feelings, and Hakari, with her face red with embarrassment, asks Rentarō to accompany her to her room. Hakari, along with the girls, notices that Rentarō and his mother are taking too long. She starts imagining her mother and the protagonist doing strange things, and when she mentions this, everyone runs to Hakari's room. When they arrive, they find her lying on the floor and see Rentarō dressed as a girl, which endears him to everyone, but Rentarō faints from embarrassment. Determined, Hakari says she has a plan to wake him up. She dresses Iai as a prince so she can kiss Rentarō and wake him up. When Rentarō wakes up embarrassed, he says he is going to take a bath. At that moment, Hakari becomes serious and tells her daughter that it's time. Karane asks what they plan to do, and they say they will spy on Rentarō. Shizuka intervenes, saying she can't let them go so as not to break the trust Rentarō has in them, but Iai grabs her and wraps her up in a sheet like sushi. In the bathroom, Rentarō suspects they might be trying to spy on him and takes a bath with a towel wrapped around him. When he looks towards the window, he sees a strange figure and gets scared, but it turns out to be Kusuri trying to spy on him with the help of the others. Meanwhile, Shizuka tries to escape, but unable to get out, decides to roll away to stop them. She rolls down the stairs, and when she reaches the bathroom, dives directly into the bathtub. She emerges soaking wet, and Rentarō, seeing her, gets frightened thinking she's a ghost. He realizes it's Shizuka and tries to help her, but when he stands up, his towel falls and she ends up seeing him completely. After leaving the bathroom, the protagonist finds all the girls and gathers them to scold them for trying to spy on him. When things calm down, they start playing cards. After a while, Hakari's mother asks to leave. Seeing her a bit sad, Rentarō decides to follow her. When he meets her, he asks what's wrong, telling her she can trust him since they are now a couple, and that he will do everything possible to make her happy. She stands before the altar of her former lover and confesses that she cannot be a good partner yet because she still hasn't forgotten her beloved. Rentarō hugs her and comforts her, saying that he doesn't ask her to forget her beloved. She can love them both at the same time, and if she ever feels his love isn't enough, she should tell him so he can do something about it. The mother of Hakari, hearing this, cannot help but become emotional and hugs the protagonist, confessing that her beloved told her before passing away to save her first kiss for someone she truly loved. Realizing what she feels, the protagonist kisses her. Later that night, while everyone is asleep, Hakari lies down next to Rentarō. When he notices her, she tells him with tears in her eyes that she is very happy he came to rescue her. The protagonist looks at her, kisses her, and says they can sleep together. A few hours later, Rentarō wakes up and notices that Hakari and Karane are hugging, and he is happy to see them getting along so well. He goes to the bathroom in the hallway and encounters the ghost of Hakari's former lover. The ghost asks why Rentarō isn't scared, but the protagonist says that although he is afraid of ghosts, he wanted to talk to him. He says he will do everything in his power to make Hakari and her mother happy and asks for his blessing. The ghost says he wanted to scare and threaten him to make him do exactly what he just said. He confesses that he has been accompanying and protecting them for 16 years. When they shake hands as a sign of gratitude, the protagonist tells the ghost he is truly grateful for bringing Hakari into the world. The ghost starts to shine and says that now, thanks to this, all of his regrets have disappeared and he can finally rest in peace before disappearing. The next morning, Rentarō wakes up in the hallway, wondering if it was all a dream. That day, everyone goes to school, and in the auditorium, the girls see Hakari's mother, who will now be the new principal. She bought the school to spend more time with them. Rentarō, having run to his house to visit her, is informed that she is at school, so he runs back. He climbs to the rooftop and finds his 6 friends, the 6 soulmates he has found so far out of the 100 he will meet throughout his life.